chosen one. Before this message began, something was already happening. Not through coincidence or the random movement of attention across a noisy world. Something was arranged before this moment existed on any calendar, at a level you cannot observe from where you are standing. And it has been moving toward this exact point in your life with a precision that the ordinary language of probability cannot describe. The fact that you are here, receiving this today, in this particular hour of this particular season of your life, is not neutral. Something brought you here, something that does not operate by the rules of accident. And it had a specific reason for making sure this word reached you at this precise moment, in this season, when you are carrying exactly what you are carrying. Before we go any further, I want to speak what has been given to this message directly over your life. God says, the offer is already prepared. It is not being finalized. It is not waiting on one more act of faithfulness from you before it becomes real. It was placed on the path you are walking long before your feet ever touch this road. And the reason you cannot fully see it yet has nothing to do with whether it is real or whether it is truly for you. Let that settle somewhere deeper than the part of you that has been managing disappointment. The offer is prepared. What is coming toward you is not a reward for perfect performance over the last difficult stretch of your life. It is a provision established before the waiting began, before the doubt accumulated, before the silence of the seasons you have been navigating started to feel like it might mean something other than what it actually means. It was set in motion for you before you had any way of knowing you would need it. What God has arranged for you is not small. It is not a minor adjustment to the margins of an already adequate life. It is the kind of provision that shifts the entire landscape of what becomes possible, the kind that does not merely improve your situation, but opens something that was closed and restores something that was interrupted. And it is moving toward the chosen one, who has been in exactly the kind of season you have been in. Not toward everyone. Toward the specific kind of person these 5 signs identify. Before I go further into what this offer is and what it will mean to receive it fully, I want to show you something. 5 signs, not general spiritual encouragements that could apply to anyone in any moment. 5 specific identifiers that confirm whether you are the kind of chosen one this message was placed in front of today. These signs are not a test. They are a recognition. Either they fit the interior shape of your experience, or they do not. The first sign: you have been waiting longer than you thought was reasonable. Not passively, not with the thin tolerance of someone who has quietly given up while maintaining the outward form of faith. Actively waiting. Returning with genuine intention to a prayer that has not yet been fully answered. Holding a promise that, by every ordinary measure of timing, should have arrived earlier. There is a specific weariness that accumulates in the person who waits that way. Not the exhaustion of idleness, but the weight of sustained hope. Of continuing to return to something day after day, when the visible evidence has not yet caught up to what was spoken. Most people, when that weariness reaches a threshold, quietly lower what they are expecting. They reclassify the promise as something smaller, something that fits more comfortably within the evidence currently available. But you are still here, still in the posture of receiving, still willing to hear a word in the direction of what you have not yet seen. That is not passivity. That is not inability to move on. That is the specific quality that belongs to the person the offer was designed for. The offer does not arrive to the one who collapsed the expectation. It arrives to the one who held it. If that is where you are, this first sign is yours. The second sign: you have been faithful in the small things, even when no one was watching. There were seasons, long ones, when the faithfulness happened in rooms that would never be documented, in choices that would never receive recognition from any audience. The quiet work of formation in the ordinary hours, you kept the inner covenant even when the outer reward was absent, not because you were being observed, but because something in you understood that the covenant operates whether or not anyone is watching. This kind of faithfulness is a specific thing. It is not the same as general discipline or consistency. It is the willingness to honor what was entrusted to you in the private hours, the unwitnessed moments, the choices that had no audience except the one that existed before any audience mattered. And it produces something in the character of the person who practices it, a quality of readiness, a depth that the person who has only been faithful in the visible seasons does not yet have access to. What God has prepared was not designed to arrive into a life that honored the covenant only in public. It was designed to arrive into the person who carried it in the quiet, the ordinary, the unrecognized faithfulness that will never appear in any record except the one that matters most. If that describes you, this second sign is yours. The third sign, 8. You have felt the approach of something greater, but could not give it a name or defend it with logic to anyone who asked. Not wishful thinking, not optimism manufactured to survive a hard season. A specific interior signal, something like the atmospheric shift that precedes significant weather, the particular change in the quality of the air before everything moves. To the person who has learned to read it, unmistakable. To the person who has not, easy to dismiss. Most people, especially people who have been disappointed, learn to dismiss this kind of feeling. They classify the stirring as sentiment rather than signal, as emotion rather than information. And there is a kind of protective wisdom in that. But it misses something important, because not every stirring is self-generated. Some of it is accurate information about what is actually in motion. What you have been feeling, the specific quality of anticipation without a clear object, is not the product of a heart that mistakes wanting for knowledge. It is the signal of something genuinely set in motion, now close enough to feel. The receiver in you is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is registering the approach of what has already been arranged. If that describes the interior of where you are, this third sign is yours. The fourth sign, you have carried weight that was not originally assigned to you. There are things you have been navigating that trace back further than your own decisions created. Patterns that arrived through family lines you did not choose. Burdens that became yours not because of anything you initiated, but because of where you were born, who you were born to, and what those relationships carried when they were handed to you. Emotional inheritances that required you to do interior work that the people before you were never equipped to do for themselves. The chosen one, who carries generational weight, is not being punished. They are being positioned. Because the person selected to break a pattern must be willing to bear its full weight long enough to understand it where it can be permanently addressed, not just managed forward for another generation. They must feel what their lineage could not face, name what was never named, bring into the open what has been operating in the hidden places of the family story. What God is releasing in this season is not separate from what you have been holding. The capacity for what is coming was forged in part by exactly that history. And what flows through you when you receive it will not stop at the edges of your own life. It was designed with a reach that extends beyond you. The fifth sign. Something has kept bringing you back, not once, more than once. There were genuine moments when you made a real decision to be done with this kind of faith, this quality of hope that requires so much from the person who holds it. You made the decision, and something brought you back, again, and then again after that. That is not the sign of a person who lacks the capacity to follow through on a decision. That is the specific mechanism by which the divine appointment holds across time. The thread that keeps returning you to this place is not nostalgia or emotional habit. It is the recognition that arises from the deepest layer of the person, below the thinking mind and below the managed emotions, that what was spoken over your life is not finished. That the story you are in has not yet reached its actual resolution. You are here because something brought you back. That is the fifth sign. And for the person it belongs to, it is the most important one, because the one who keeps returning, even across the seasons of disappointment, even after the decisions to stop, is the one who is holding their position in the story. And the offer being described in this message is addressed to that person specifically. Now I want to hold something in front of you before we continue. Over the past several years, something has been discovered in research laboratories that most people who care about the things we have been discussing have never been told. Not because it contradicts what is sacred, because it came from a direction most of us were not watching. From a field that does not normally speak the language of promise and appointment and divine provision. A small group of neuroscientists, led by a doctor in New York, who has spent 2 decades studying a specific mechanism at the center of how the human brain is designed, found something that explains a pattern I have seen repeatedly in sincere, faithful people. People who, by every spiritual measure, were in exactly the right posture to receive what was arranged for them, and who still found that the arrival was incomplete. That something was coming, but not landing at the depth it was designed to land. What this team found traces back to a Nobel Prize, and in its daily practical application, it is so simple that the first time you hear it described, part of you will resist it for that reason alone. I am going to come back to what they found later in this message. But right now, hold this question with you as we continue. What if the reason the offer has been arriving but not fully landing has nothing to do with your faith, your worthiness, or the timing of what God arranged? There is a figure whose story has been told across thousands of years and whose life carries a specific pattern that I believe is the pattern you are in right now. His name is Joseph. And before his offer arrived, before the provision prepared for him was placed in his hands and the full scope of his purpose was revealed, he passed through a sequence of experiences that looked, from the inside, like one kind of story and was, from the outside of heaven, a completely different one. He was sold. By the people who should have been the first to recognize what he carried, he was placed in a pit, not because he had failed or because the promise over his life had been revoked, because the preparation required exactly this. Because the capacity to carry what was coming could not be developed in a comfortable environment. The position he was being formed for required a kind of interior strength and a kind of proven faithfulness that can only be built in the place where the evidence does not cooperate with the promise. And here is what the story holds that most people miss when they read it quickly. Joseph, in the pit, was not waiting for the promise to be restored. The promise was never interrupted. The preparation was the next chapter of the promise. The pit was not outside the plan. The pit was the plan, moving at a speed and in a direction that the ordinary human eye could not track from ground level. What looked like abandonment was appointment. What looked like delay was the shaping of someone whose hands needed to be strong enough to carry what was coming. From the pit, he moved to the prison, and in the prison he continued doing the same thing. He served. He helped people around him without requiring the helping be rewarded in the ways he had reason to expect. The man he helped forgot about him afterward. Joseph continued anyway. He understood something most people in his position would not have reached. That the quality of faithfulness in the hidden place determines the nature of what is placed in the hands when the visible place opens. From the prison he moved to the palace, and when he stood before Pharaoh, the thing that moved him from the prison to the position was not the absence of difficulty. It was the depth of formation the difficulty had produced in him. He was ready to hold what he was given because the years of holding it in the unseen places had produced a capacity for it that could not have been produced any other way. The palace required the prison. The position required the pit. Not as punishment, as preparation. Where are you in that story right now? If you are in the pit or the prison, I want to say this to you directly. The current environment is not evidence that the promise has been cancelled. It is evidence that the preparation has reached the stage that requires this environment. You will have the moment of looking back at this season from the position it was preparing you for. And the offer being described in this message is one of the pieces moving into position that you will recognize from that future vantage point as part of the sequence that was always for you. There is also the pattern of the seed. A seed placed in the earth enters a period of darkness, of apparent stillness, of contact with everything resistant about the ground it was placed in. The people looking at the surface see nothing visible, nothing that confirms the story they were told about what was in the ground. From above ground, the picture is entirely inconclusive. The ground looks exactly the same as it would look if nothing were in it at all. But something is happening beneath the surface that the above-ground view cannot access. The seed is not merely enduring the ground, it is drawing from it. The very elements that make the ground dark and resistant and difficult are the elements being converted into the structure of what will eventually emerge. The darkness is not the enemy of the growth. The darkness is the medium through which the growth occurs. The pressure that feels like compression from inside the seed is the very force producing the root system deep enough to hold what is coming. There is a Hebrew word, tsemak, that is used in the sacred texts to describe the moment when what has been below the surface first becomes visible above it. It means sprout and branch. The tsemak does not arrive through effort or through forcing the emergence. It arrives because what was in the ground had been doing its work for exactly as long as it needed to do it. You are in the season just before the tsemak. The preparation in the dark has been doing exactly what it was designed to do. The emergence is not distant. It is the next movement. Now I want to speak about the things that block the full arrival of what has been arranged. This is the part of the message most teachers skip, and skipping it is why so many sincere people remain in the posture of almost receiving for far longer than was ever intended. There are 3 specific things. I want to name them directly. The first block is not doubt in the ordinary sense. It is the habit of filtering every incoming promise through the record of previous arrivals that were incomplete. You received something that was real. You received it partially. And your internal system, without your conscious permission, began using that partial arrival as the standard by which it evaluated every subsequent incoming word. If the last thing was incomplete, this will probably also be incomplete. That pattern is not a deliberate decision. It operates below the level of deliberate thought, as a protective response to real experience. And at the moment of reception, it intercepts what is coming and limits the depth at which it is allowed to land. The second block is the quiet belief that full reception requires a level of inner preparation you have not yet reached, that there is some unresolved residue from the past that must first be cleared before you are truly ready for what was promised. This belief is not always wrong. Preparation is real, but in many sincere people it has become a mechanism that perpetually defers the arrival. Something is always not quite ready yet. The promise stays in the future because readiness stays perpetually ahead of the present moment, always just out of reach, always requiring one more step of work before the door can open. God does not deliver the offer only to those who have completed their formation. The offer arrives to people in the middle of formation, to people who still carry unresolved things, because the offer is often itself part of what completes the formation. If you have been waiting to be ready enough to receive, I want you to hear this. Ready enough is not a standard you reach and then hold. It is a posture you step into by receiving what is being offered in this season exactly as you are, with everything still in process. The third block is the one with the most direct connection to what was discovered in those research laboratories I mentioned earlier. It is a specific kind of interior static in the receiver itself, a reduction in the signal clarity of the mind that makes the arrival of what is being offered feel muffled, foggy, or incomplete, even when the spirit is aligned and the faith is active and the posture of the heart is exactly right. Even when everything on the spiritual side of the equation is functioning as it should. There are people whose spirit is fully aligned with what God has arranged and whose mind, through no fault of their own and through no spiritual failure, is operating at a fraction of its designed receiving capacity. Not because they lack discipline, not because the faith is insufficient, because something physiological has been interrupted. Something in the mechanism of the receiver itself has been reduced, and the signal that was designed to arrive with full strength and full clarity is landing in a receiver that cannot process it at the depth it was meant to reach. The signal is real. The offer is real. The receiver is the variable that has been compromised. The fog is not a spiritual condition. The static is not evidence of unworthiness. It has a specific cause that can be identified and a specific mechanism by which it can be addressed. The woman I am about to tell you about is an example of what changes when that cause is addressed. There is a woman I want to tell you about. I will not use her name. She had been faithful in prayer for 11 years. Specific prayer, not general hope or vague spiritual orientation. 11 years of returning to the same request, the same promise, the same interior posture of genuine faith. She described what the arrivals felt like during those years this way. Something would come. She could feel it approaching, and it would arrive at the surface of her life, change something at the edges, touch the margins of what she was holding, but never penetrate to the center, like rainfall that reaches the roof but never enters the room, like a message that arrives but cannot be fully decoded by the receiver it was sent to. After she addressed the specific physiological block we are going to discuss in detail shortly, she described the change this way. It was not that new things arrived. It was that things already in motion reached her at the depth they had always been intended to reach. The offer had been real and moving the whole time. Something in the receiver had been preventing the full landing, and when that something was addressed, 11 years of arriving but not landing suddenly reached the depth that had always been prepared for it. Not because the offer changed, because the receiver was restored. One more thing before we move to what addresses the third block. Attending to something physiological does not indicate that faith is insufficient. The channel of reception has two sides. The side that belongs to God, the provision and the arrangement, and the side that belongs to you, the condition of the receiver. Attending to the receiver is an act of stewardship, honoring what was given to you to carry, so that what God arranged can arrive at the depth it was designed to reach. Addressing the condition of the receiver is an act of honoring what was given to you to steward. What we are going to talk about now is the final piece. Now I want to close the loop that has been open since the beginning of this message. I told you there was something discovered in research laboratories that I was going to return to. I have been building toward that moment through everything we have discussed since. Because what was found is not information alone, it is a solution. And a solution only becomes useful once you understand the full shape of the problem it solves. You now understand the shape. You understand the 3 blocks, what the third block does to the receiver, and why the most faithful person in the most aligned posture can still experience the arrival as incomplete. Now, I want to tell you what addresses it. Let me speak plainly for a moment. The why first. In 1981, a neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for his research on the two hemispheres of the brain. What his research demonstrated at the level of scientific proof, recognized by the highest body of scientific acknowledgement in the world, was that the human brain is designed for the two hemispheres to operate in synchronization. When the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere work together the way they were designed to work, the capacity of the mind is measurably different from when they operate independently. The synchronized state produces what researchers describe as a whole brain activation. The partial state, the one that most adults are operating in, produces something considerably less than what the brain was designed to deliver. What first? 98% of children test at the level of creative genius. Less than 1 in 1,000 adults maintains that level. The decline is not a function of age alone. It is a function of the gradual erosion of the synchronized state by the specific conditions of modern adult life. The biological architecture of the receiver that was fully operational in childhood has been progressively reduced by factors that have nothing to do with intelligence, effort, faith, or character. It is a physiological change, not a spiritual one. And it has a physiological solution. Who? There is a doctor named Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist based in New York, who spent years taking the clinical whole brain activation protocols that exist in specialized medical settings and compressing them into a format that could be delivered in 8 minutes a day. What he and his team produced is not a general wellness product. It is a targeted auditory sequence built on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Sperry, engineered specifically to restore the synchronized state of the two hemispheres that was the default condition of the receiver in childhood. 8 minutes a day with headphones. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. That is what was found in those laboratories. That is what I promised you earlier in this message. The result of this restoration, based on the testimonials from more than 18,000 people who have used it, is not limited to cognitive improvement alone. People describe a change in the quality of how they experience prayer, how they experience the sense of divine presence, how clearly they can hear what is being spoken over their life, how fully the provisions that had been arriving but not landing are able to reach the depth of the interior life where they were always designed to go. This is not accidental. The same receiver that processes thought also processes the frequency of what God speaks. When the receiver is operating at its designed capacity, everything that was always being sent begins to arrive at its intended depth. Now, let me bring the full picture. A woman from California described what it felt like before she encountered this. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, every practice her community offered. She kept arriving at the same experience. She believed the words. She could not feel the reality behind them in the lived texture of her days, not in her body, not in the practical movement of her life toward what she had been holding in faith. After 10 days with this, she said something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open, not because she tried harder, because the receiver had been repaired. A man from Texas described something similar. He had spent years holding things together for everyone around him, while his own interior life became thin and distant. Prayer had started to feel like speaking into a wall. The frequency was right, but the receiver was off. 2 weeks later, he woke up and described his mind as running on all of what it was supposed to run on. The fog that had been so consistent, he had stopped registering it as fog was gone. Not gone, gradually. Gone in the way that things go when the specific cause of their presence is addressed. What the team at the laboratory of Dr. Barone produced from this research is called the genius switch. It is not a brainwave product. not a meditation track, not a sound frequency designed to put you in a particular mood. It is a targeted auditory sequence specifically engineered based on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was the default state of the receiver in childhood. You wear headphones, you close your eyes, you listen for 8 minutes. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. It works beneath your awareness. You do not need to meditate, repeat affirmations, or track your progress. The mechanism operates at the level of the physiology, not at the level of effort or intention. If you have tried products that use sound to influence mental states before and did not find what you were looking for, Dr. Barone addresses this directly. The mechanism used is different from what is typically available. It targets hemisphere synchronization at the whole brain level using a multi-layer protocol developed from years of clinical refinement. That is a different mechanism from partial state sound products, and it produces a different category of result. The genius switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work. Keek, who has felt the call clearly and kept returning to it even when the evidence was not cooperating. And who is ready to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something with a specific address and a specific remedy? Most people who hear about this will not act on it. They have accepted the reduced version of their mind as permanent. You are still here. That is not coincidence. That is the specific kind of persistence that belongs to the person this was built for. Colleagues who reviewed this work suggested incredible value even at $500. In-person neurofeedback costs $300 per hour. Home machines start at $7,000. It was released at $49. And on the page the link below points to, there is an additional $10 off, $39. With that come 4 free editions. A guided visualization from a top-rated creator on the Calm app. A smart grocery shopping guide that identifies foods harmful to mental clarity, with alternatives available at the stores most of you already shop at. A manifestation text more than 100 years old. The foundation of most modern approaches to reception, available elsewhere for $20 and included here at no cost. And a printable infographic of 5 habits for building an ideal future. And the purchase is backed by a complete money-back guarantee. Listen once, listen 80 times. If the genius switch does not do what it has done for more than 18,000 people, every dollar is returned. No conditions, no questions. Here is what I want you to hold about timing. The provision that God has already placed near you becomes visible in the synchronized state in a way it does not in the partial state. Not because the provision is new, because the receiver that can recognize it has been restored. What has been arranged for you is already in motion. The offer that this message has been describing is real, and it is close. The question is whether you arrive at the moment of its arrival with the receiver operating at the depth it was designed to reach. The price on the page is not guaranteed beyond today. The team of Dr. Barone has communicated that the access point on this page is subject to change. That is not pressure. That is the reality of where things are. One more thing worth naming directly. If you search for something that sounds like what I have described, you will find things. The team of Dr. Barone looked at what is available under similar names and similar descriptions. Most of it had no neural sync technology embedded at all. The barrier to labeling something that way is essentially zero. What makes the difference is the mechanism, not the name. And the mechanism exists only in what Dr. Barone and his team built, available through the direct page the link below points to. That is the only verified source. That is where the link goes. If your spirit resonates with what has been described, the link in the description below and in the pinned comment points to where Dr. Barone made the genius switch available, not anywhere else. You can read everything on their page before making any decision. Every detail is laid out clearly. The genius switch does not replace what God is doing in you. It does not surrender for you. It does not do the obedience. It does not carry the covenant. What God is doing in your life is not conditional on any tool or any resource, but a tool that restores the receiver, gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. The spiritual current of this message continues now in a direction that has nothing to do with any product. What remains is the deeper word. And for the chosen one whose spirit confirmed something when the receiver was mentioned, that path remains open in the description and in the pinned comment. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a mind that is operating at its designed capacity have changed entire seasons for people whose situation looked far more fixed than yours. Before we enter the closing of this message, I want to give you 3 practical things to carry with you. Not spiritual concepts, actual tools. Things you can apply in the days immediately following this word that will open the receiving channel wider and allow what is coming toward you to land at the depth it was prepared to reach. The first tool is what I call the daily confirmation practice. Every morning, before you check anything or speak to anyone, give yourself 3 minutes of deliberate silence. Not structured prayer, not affirmation, simply silence in which you hold the awareness that the offer is prepared and moving toward you as a statement of fact. The offer is prepared. I am the receiver. The landing is in process. You are not asking for anything. You are confirming what has already been arranged from a posture of knowing rather than hoping. Asking operates from a posture of absence. Confirming operates from a posture of what is already real and in motion. The receiver aligns differently under each posture. 3 minutes every morning. The second tool is the practice of noticing and recording partial arrivals. Over the next 7 days, keep a simple written record of every moment when something moved in a direction that aligned with what you have been holding in faith. Even small things, especially small things, because the arrival of the larger provision is rarely sudden. It is almost always the accumulation of a series of partial landings. Many chosen ones miss this because they are looking for the full completion and dismissing everything that does not fit that picture. But the partial landings are not the failure of the arrival, they are the approach of it. And noticing them trains the receiver to register what is coming before it arrives in its final form. The third tool is what I call releasing the record as the measuring standard. This one addresses the first block we discussed directly. Once today, say aloud to yourself what the history of partial arrivals actually represents, not as a complaint, not as a prayer asking for explanation, a simple statement of what happened and what it means going forward. Something arrived. It landed partially. That partial landing is not the standard for what is coming now. The past is not the template for this arrival. You are releasing the record as the measuring standard for the present and opening to the possibility that what is coming now operates under different conditions than what came before. This is not pretending the past did not happen. It is the deliberate decision to refuse to let the history of partial arrivals set the ceiling on the depth of the current one. And now I want to guide you through something before we enter the closing of this message. I want you to do this with me, if you are in a place where you can close your eyes without being in danger. If you are driving or operating something that requires your attention, return to this part later. But if you are able, I want to take you somewhere for a moment. Close your eyes and picture the receiver, not as an abstract concept. Picture it as a specific room at the center of a building that was designed and built for a precise purpose. The purpose of receiving transmissions from a great distance, transmissions that carry direction and provision and identity and confirmation. The room was built with a specific architecture, two sides working in perfect coordination, each capable of things the other cannot do alone, and together capable of receiving and processing what neither could receive or process independently. When the room is functioning at its full designed capacity, nothing that is sent to it is lost. The signal arrives at its full strength. The information contained in it is fully accessible. The depth at which what is received can penetrate the entire building is exactly the depth it was designed to reach. The receiver was built for this. You were built for this. The architecture of your mind was designed for a quality of reception that most adults have not experienced since childhood. Now, picture what has accumulated in that room over the years, not from damage or failure, from the ordinary conditions of a life lived in a world that does not remember how to maintain the room. A specific kind of interference, not hostile, not permanent, not structural, but present in a way that reduces the depth at which what is sent can reach. The two sides of the room have drifted out of their designed coordination. They still function. But they function below the level they were built to function at, and the signals arriving from the source, arriving with full strength and full information, are landing in a room that can only receive a portion of what is being sent. Now picture the room with the interference addressed, with the two sides restored to their designed coordination, with the synchronization that was the default condition of the receiver in childhood reinstated. And picture what arrives into that room now. The same signals, the same provision, the same guidance, the same confirmation, the same word from the one who arranged the offer. Arriving now at the depth the room was built for, landing at the center, penetrating to the interior of what you have been holding in faith for however long you have been holding it. The signal is the same. The room is different. And the difference changes everything about what is actually received. Now, put your hand on your chest. Take one slow, full breath, and let your body register this not as a meditation technique you are performing with distance, but as the actual description of what is available to you in this season. The receiver was built to operate this way. The restoration of that capacity is not a spiritual achievement you have to earn. It is a return to the original design, and it is available to you now. Chosen one, I want to pause before anything else I speak in this closing, not to move quickly to declaration or release, but to simply witness what you have been carrying to arrive at this point in this message. Because the faithfulness of the chosen one who has been in a season like yours is not a small thing. It is not a thing that simply happens or that is maintained without cost. It is a specific choice made again and again across the seasons when the choice to stop would have been entirely understandable and even wise by any ordinary measure. I want to acknowledge that, with the quiet recognition of someone who understands what it takes to hold what you have been holding in the conditions you have been holding it in. Every unseen act of faithfulness, every returning after the decision to stop, every quiet hour when you continued to hold what had not yet arrived, that is seen, not by me alone, by the one who placed the offer on the path before you had any way of knowing you would need it, by the one who has been watching every hidden moment of this season with a quality of attention that the ordinary human mind cannot fully grasp. What you have been carrying has not gone unnoticed. It has not been irrelevant. It has been the formation of the person that this offer was designed for. And now I want to invite you into a release, not a performance, a genuine setting down of what you have been carrying that was never designed to be permanent. Something that accumulated in the faithful waiting and that you are allowed to release now as the offer arrives, and as the receiver opens to receive it. Release the seasons when the silence felt like abandonment. Release the moments when you wondered whether you had somehow been passed over. Release the weight of the partial arrivals that landed at the surface but not at the center. Release the record of incomplete seasons as the standard for what is coming now. Release every quiet agreement with the idea that the full version of what was promised might not actually be for you. Release the version of yourself that learned to manage the expectation downward in order to avoid the cost of being disappointed again. Release it, not because it was wrong to carry it, because you were never designed to carry it past this moment. And this is the moment. Now I want to speak something over you, and I want you to receive it not as encouragement, but as declaration, as the specific word that was placed in this message for the person who has been exactly where you have been for exactly as long as you have been there, holding exactly what you have been holding. You are the chosen one, who held what they were given when holding was the hardest thing available to them. You are the one who came back again, who is here in this moment because something in you knows that the story is not finished and cannot be finished on terms other than the ones that were originally spoken over your life. You are the one whose receiver is being restored in this season so that what was always being sent can arrive at the depth it was always designed to reach. Not a reduced version, not a partial landing. The full weight of what was arranged for you, reaching the full depth of the interior life that was built to receive it. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not held back by what you have been carrying. You have been formed by it, and the formation is complete enough for what is coming next. The offer is prepared, the receiver is opening, the arrival is in motion, and you are precisely, exactly, specifically the chosen one this offer was prepared for. I want to speak a blessing over everything that moves out of this moment into the Seawar days, over the receiver, that it would be restored to the full operating capacity it was designed for from the beginning, over the provisions already in motion toward you, that they would land at the depth they were always intended to land, over the faithfulness you have demonstrated across the seasons of the waiting, that it would be honored in the visible seasons that are coming. And for the chosen one whose spirit confirmed something when the receiver was described, that path is still open in the description below. A small step taken from a mind operating at its full designed capacity has changed entire seasons for people whose situations looked far more fixed than yours currently looks. And so it is.